happy Sunday, everybody. I just have a few announcements for you guys. Just a reminder, as always, we have our Thursday Zoom call. We'll send the links out in our WhatsApp chats as usual. If you're watching and you're not yet part of those WhatsApp chats, then you can get in touch with us at youth@trinitychurchnottingham.org and we can get you involved. As well as our Thursday calls, after this video, later in the day on Sundays, we have another Zoom call, so we'll see you guys this afternoon. And just to update you, we have moved into a new series of the podcast. So we're doing a daily Bible study from Philippians. We're working through the book. So check that out if you haven't seen an episode yet. All of the episodes are on the website, and we also have a WhatsApp group where we send the link out each morning. So if you want to be a part of that, let us know. And yeah, check out the podcast. If you wanted to go through it with one of your leaders, just get in touch. Me, Bo, Jacob and Luca can take some time and go through that with you guys if you wanted to do it together. Enjoy this morning's teaching.
I believe in truth, so keep it G with what you say. If I believe in you, then will you promise to believe in me?
Hey guys, we've been going through this series of how-to, and essentially it's been how to be a Jesus follower. What are the things that we need to do to take up these things that are good things that we should practice in our own lives so that we can become more and more like Jesus? And so we've talked about, how to pray, how to worship, how to read your Bible, how to serve, how to hear from God, all these various different things. And we're going to keep the series going today. Today we're going to be talking about one of the things that I think is probably one of the most prevalent, poignant things that you can be doing right now as a Jesus follower. Something that you should definitely pick up and incorporate into your daily routine, if not taking extended times to do this thing. And that thing is to be still. To be still, to be quiet, to just be with God. You see, Christians have been practicing this for quite a long time. We've known that there's something about just quieting yourself from the world around you, from everything that's going on. Even think back hundreds of years ago when there wasn't technology and there wasn't distractions and places to go, people to see. It just wasn't exactly like that. But that's when the monks and the monasteries started. These people that would take themselves away from society so that they could be still, that they could be quiet. Often they would take oaths of silence for extended periods of time just so that they could focus and concentrate and be still before God. And it's no different today. We need rhythms of quiet and need rhythms of stillness, rather, in our own lives. It's more important now than ever. I can remember, it was years ago. It was right before I moved over to the UK. And I was up late at night, really, really late at night. And I hadn't exactly figured out my plans for when I was coming to the UK. I hadn't got my visa sorted. I hadn't really actually told my parents what was all going on and what I felt God calling me to do. And so I went through this crazy time of just being super stressed out and trying to control and manipulate and trying to make sure all my T's were crossed and all my I's were dotted so that I could get to where I wanted to go. It was a good thing. It's what I felt God calling me to do. But I wanted to have the reins. I wanted to have the steering wheel so that I can move at my pace. And it got to this point, this one night, I remember it so vividly. And I was super stressed out. I was working a job. I was playing water polo at university. I was practicing 2 or 3 times a day. It was just this intense, really intense time. And it got to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember sitting in my bedroom just being stressed out, almost on the verge of a panic attack. And I had never had a panic attack or anything like that in my whole life. And I just remember thinking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What's going on here? And I felt this still, quiet voice said, just stop. Just stop. And I remember I sat in that room and I closed my eyes. And I took a deep breath and I just went, okay, God. And I just started breathing. And I focused on my breathing. I tried to get all the thoughts out of my mind. I asked the Holy Spirit, I was like, would you quiet my mind so that I can pay attention to what you're trying to say just for a little bit? And God spoke to me. I felt like God said to me, Bo, just be still. Just be quiet. It's gonna be okay. I've got you. I've got you. In Psalm 46, verse 10, it says this. God says to us, he says, be still. Know that I am God. And in the context of this verse, the be still isn't just like freeze. The be still is like, stop what you're doing. Stop right now. Like, cease striving. Stop, keep on trying to control this. Bo, remember that I am God and you are not, Bo. That's what he was trying to tell me. Why I was trying to be in control. I had no power. I had nothing that I could do to break through and get me to where I wanted to be, but it was all in God's hands. And he was the one that was in control. He was the one who had me in the palms of his hands. He was the one that I needed to listen to. He had everything for me. But what I needed to do was get out of the way so that we could let God, or I could let God into my situation so that he can move powerfully. And he did. He got me over to the UK. He supported, he somehow, guys, I know nothing about fundraising. I somehow squeaked some pounds, like some dollars off some very generous people in the United States that continue to give to me to this day. And they supported me and I somehow made it. I found a beautiful wife. I moved to Nottingham. I have a beautiful daughter. We just got a brand new, well, not brand new, new to us. The car's like 8 years old, but we got a new car. But people have just been generous to us, and I didn't have to save for that. People have been so generous. And I honestly believe it's because I've chosen with my life that I'm going to trust God. But those times when I find myself trying to reach for control again and again, and I go, God, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And I think he's over here, and I think he's doing this, and I think he's doing that. It usually never ends up very good when I try to be God. But when I take a step back, when I remember to just be still, to quiet myself, my breathing, to turn off my phone, to turn off Disney Plus, to turn off whatever's going on in my house right now. Moana is like the new jam. Dude, love Moana, by the way. But like, if I can just quiet myself, if before I go to bed at night, I'm just not on my phone, and just focus on God and just still my heart, still my head, still my soul. Just say, I'm just gonna be still, and I'm gonna know that God, you are with me, that you love me, that you are for me, not against me. That everything that is true of you, Jesus, is true of me because you proved it on the cross and then you sealed it with your resurrection. You conquered death. I'm a son. Everything that is true of you, Jesus, I get to now experience and live a life full. God, you love Jesus so much and you love me. I get to rest in that reality. But I can only know it when I take that time to be still, when I take that time to be quiet, to not have 1,000 different voices and stuff going on in my head, and what's the next message that I get on my phone or application that I'm looking at, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. I just need to take that time to remind myself I need to be still and know that God is God. Quit striving, Bo. Know that God is God. Stop what you're doing. Just know that God is still God. There's so many different ways that we can do this, and I think it's so important in this season, because I don't know about you guys, but I've found myself getting so distracted in this season. How many weeks are we in lockdown now? Well, we're kind of easing it up. Thank goodness we can meet in small groups. We can see some of our friends, but I'm still like, man, I gotta work from home. When's church gonna be back open? I wanna see my youth. I wanna see people. I wanna give someone a hug, a high five at church, but I realize it's gonna be elbow bumps and chicken wings for a whole lot longer. But that's okay. I need to be still. I need to know that God is still God. He's in control. He's got this. I can catch up with where he's going. But it's so important that I think right now that we don't get swept away with distraction. We get swept away with just man, like just gaming, just on YouTube, just inhaling videos, just playing more FIFA, although FIFA is super fun. Like, we need to make sure we put limits on ourselves so we can pause and we can be still before God, because we'll burn out. And I feel myself in so many ways just kind of burning out of the season. And what I really need to do is just still myself and stop striving, stop trying to do more, and just know that I am God. There's this passage in the Old Testament, and God takes one of his leaders up onto this hill, and this leader expects to see God in all these different ways, because God's promised him. He said, I'm going to come by, I'm going to reveal myself to you. And so there's like a violent earthquake, and the earth shakes, and he's like, what's going on here? And he goes, surely this is God, but it says God was not in the earthquake. And then it said there was fire and lightning and storms, and it was all this power, this wrath of nature. But then it says, no, God wasn't in that either. And then it says there was a wind. And in that still, calm voice, there was silence. And it was here. There was God. God was in the silence. For me, I take that and I go, man, God's not always in the loud and the shouty and the crazy, miraculous and huge. He's in the very mundane, everyday miracles where he shows up and speaks to us in our life. That he shows up and speaks to us when we have time in his word. He shows up and speaks to us when we spend time in prayer. He shows up and he speaks to us when we meet with friends and pray together and pray for each other. So guys, this afternoon, when we go into our groups, we're going to practice that. We're going to practice a type of prayer. It's called the Jesus prayer, and it focuses on our breathing and focuses on being still so that we can know that Jesus Christ is Lord, that we can be calm for a second. We can try to take our mind and kind of put it on like mute for a second. Say, God, what do you want to do? I just want to focus on you, Jesus, for a bit, so that we can know that he's God, that I'm not. Although if I'm really honest, guys, sometimes I act like I'm God. I heard someone say the other day, it's like the big difference between God and me is that God doesn't sometimes think he's me. And I think that's so true of us. So we're going to practice being still, just knowing that he is God this afternoon. Bless you guys. I highly encourage you. We'll talk more this afternoon. Being still, being quiet, finding that time, even if it's for 30 seconds, a minute, and working your way up to longer and longer times. I be honest, guys, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, couple minutes, it's tough for me a lot of the time. But I firmly believe that as we build up, as we spend more time in this practice of being silent and being still before God, we'll get better at it. And God is going to speak to us powerfully in that time. See you this afternoon, guys.